Got my hand going, so I was dicking around with it on my iPad here a little
Does
bit.
it ever
Oh,
get caught?
does it get caught? What do you mean?
Jerk it off?
You know, the thing sometimes when you tell it to grip, it turns. So you can imagine, yeah,
Listen up, I'm about to get dope.
what's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future free state of Greater Idaho, where I just accidentally hit loud Indian music. I am the one-armed madman, and back with me from Music City, America, it's Daniel Steele. What's up, brother? How we doing? I really
Oh,
fucked that up.
that's just your honoring the new second lady.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
Full of diversity.
I've got my hand going again. I was trying to get it to go into a fist so I could do the Trump dance during the intro, but I couldn't get it to work. So we're just kind of stuck in this position now. It's so annoying. Like I didn't think about this, but the thing beeps like crazy whenever like you can hear it beeping. My
Okay.
dog's afraid of beeps now,
Oh
and
fuck.
so like now I have to open this fucking thing up and find the speaker and jab it out with a screwdriver or something because like when the last time this thing worked, he wasn't afraid of beeping, and now he's afraid of beeping, and the thing just goes like freaking crazy. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm eligible for a new one, so I'm gonna get a new one pretty soon. I just don't want to go to Minnesota.
Oh yeah. Boy. Speaking of Minnesota, Tim Walz lost his own home county.
R.I.P. As in get raped in prison.
Get raped in prison. Well, let's jump right into the big conspiracy. Because I have or not conspiracy, but everybody's like, oh, it's so obvious now. I'll lead with this. The 2020 election was interfered with in a number of ways, starting from the impeachment to CNN saying, or all of the corporate media saying that he was a Russian, that the leader of the free world was a Russian agent.
Yep.
The intelligence people saying that they saw evidence of it and it's going to come out. That was all interference, and I'm not saying that that wasn't, and I'm not saying that it was a free and fair election, but the disparity in votes, I think it's just people are fucking lazy.
You think so?
Like, yeah, because um, you could just vote at home. You didn't have to go anywhere. They mailed it to you in a self-addressed stamped envelope. You mailed it back to them, and you could vote. Because, like, how did Trump lose 12 million votes or whatever?
See, this is where I have a problem with this is that I think that more people voted for Trump this year than in 2020. And no, everybody's talking about that graph with the big jump, the Democrats,
Yeah,
just these but also the Republicans had massive fucking numbers that weren't even close. So it's like,
I
did we
think people are
really
just fucking
lose that
lazy.
many? Like, I know personally, I know more people who have voted Trump this time than last time.
Well, yeah. Well, I know more people that said that they voted Trump this time than last time. Because you fucking get persecuted. Well, people still are going fucking ape shit. What was the vote totals? It was
Oh,
like
I'd have to pull it up right real quick. I think I got that graph somewhere in here. Oh man, I've taken so many screenshots and shit. I don't know. It's like 20 million though. I think it was like 20 million more.
Trump was. It doesn't matter, but like
No,
by percentage, I'm 5 times more likely to do something if I don't have to leave my house.
sure.
So then you have 20% more votes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's possible. Like I don't know, man. It's
Was there
weird. It's
fuckery?
definitely
Yeah,
some
there was
fuckery
absolutely
going on,
fuckery.
right? Like on
Yeah, there
both
was absolutely.
sides. And
Yeah.
like and it was so great. Like I did a bad job. I was a bad producer today. I slept in too late to get any videos or anything on deck. But like
That's
I
all right. We can just talk
yeah,
shit.
yeah. There was this great video of somebody on like CNN or MSNBC being like, "See, look, it was a free and fair election. Our elections are free and fair." And that was kind of my deal the whole time is like they didn't want to burn all of their methods again on this ridiculously horrible candidate that like nobody nobody thinks that she was going to get more votes than Joe Biden. I don't think. I mean, these crazy leftists, they we have to exit them from this type of conversation because they're so nuts that like you can't even really have any, consistency with that line of thinking. But as far as like normal people, I think I told you a while back, like my aunt is a vote blue no matter who. And I was like, hey, what do you think about your girl? And she's like, I don't want to talk about it. Like even they knew it was like not gonna go well.
Yeah. So let's walk through the series of events, right? Trump, you have all of your delegates that are pretty much baked in. Kamala starts off with a 2-point lead, whatever. And then you get down to, okay, if Trump wins Pennsylvania, which there was fuckery in Pennsylvania.
For
They had
sure.
to get their lawyers. They had to get their lawyers out to get the poll watchers
Yep.
out. There was some counties wouldn't let you vote, or you had to stand in line, and they had to get a court order to stay open. Like there was definitely fuckery.
Yeah, I
But
played a video of one where this woman showed up at 1:30 and the place was supposed to close at 4:30 and they wouldn't let her vote.
then you have all the states that said it's gonna be too late. We're not gonna. It's gonna take us days to report. Once Trump won Pennsylvania, why would they do any fuckery? There's
No point.
no chance of winning.
Yeah, and like
So
Arizona, what the fuck is up with Arizona? Were they just like kept on the back burner in case? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Well, but also I didn't look too far into this yet. I've just been so busy. I didn't do any associate producer
Yeah,
produce.
that's okay. I'm the producer. That's my job.
I saw that Carrie Lake, like they counted a bunch of late votes, but they actually had middle ground people watching the vote counts, like people from both sides. And Carrie Lake won in the last minute things, is what it looks like.
Oh, did she win? I thought she lost.
No, so she was losing, and then they had all these last minute votes. So I think that they had Arizona up their sleeve. I think they had Nevada up their sleeve, or were going to try to, but they didn't try in the presidential election. And then it probably wouldn't have worked anyway because they actually had independent or they had Republican poll watchers there.
Dude, I don't
Is
think
my
they've
piece.
called that race yet. It's still
I
out.
just it was like
Unbelievable.
somebody that
It's
generally
really close. Like she's within 50,000 votes, but I can't really, it's not showing immediately how much is reporting.
it was like
Oh,
one of the independent
78% in. How the fuck does that happen? Like there was a list on Twitter of all of the elections that had been called the night of. And just for years and years and years, they were able to call it night of. And now all of a sudden, Arizona's taking a fucking week. Like, what the hell is going on down there?
and I don't know if you've been to Arizona in the last
No,
decade.
never.
I've never seen a more Trump supporting state
That's
in my
kind
life.
of where I'm at too. Like, Nevada, the same way. Like my grandparents are from Nevada. I spent a lot of time in Nevada, and I feel like they are a lot like closer to a red state than a purple state. But when you look at the numbers, like I don't get it, man.
All your populations in Las Vegas
Yeah.
and all of the people with horrible ideas that tried to escape California came and said, all right, that stuff sucked, but here's a couple good ideas.
Yeah, maybe.
I stopped paying attention to it when I moved, but when I was leaving, the governor had signed a bill forcing healthcare providers to provide transition service
Oh
or
boy.
health insurance.
Yeah.
Health insurance. So the individual's healthcare rate is going to go up to provide those services. Obviously, the money
Yeah.
doesn't. It's not free money. And then there was a homeless bill of rights that was like passing or getting close to, and the Democrats had a super majority to where the Republican governor couldn't veto things anyway, and you would not be able to kick homeless people off your stoop for your business.
Jesus.
They could just set up encampments anywhere.
That's like, that shit started here in Boise. A lot of people think that like this homeless problem is a problem, that originated in California or some other fucking blue state, but it didn't. It originated here. There was a court case that found that like moving a homeless person's shit was akin to like human rights violations. So now that's like a court case that is has good standing because it went through one of our higher courts. And until the Supreme Court decides to take this up and shoot down that decision, we're going to have people living on the streets.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think they want people living on the streets. I don't think that there's any real desire to fix this problem, because kind of like what Kamala was saying about the border, like it's a good problem to have for a lot of people.
Yeah. And also Nevada, in the midterms, the entire Democratic committee of Clark County quit after socialists swept all the
Jesus.
local.
So they just,
So it's not
we're
like-
losing, so we quit.
No. So just like your normal Democrats that like,
Like a walk away type thing. I see.
yeah, they're like, we're not this party.
Yeah.
We can't work here anymore.
So I was wondering earlier in the week, like, how did it go in the county that I grew up in? So like I grew up in Northern California, 100 miles north of San Francisco. We were like farming town, people.
What town?
Cloverdale, it's called. Small town, 100 miles north of San Francisco on the 101. Just a small town. People work construction. They, work for the power company, for the gas company. Just hardworking folks. Not political when I grew up there. It was the most political thing that happened when I grew up in Cloverdale was my grandfather got pissed off at Barack Obama and made this big sign that said, "Fuck you, Barack Obama. I paid for this place," whatever, that type of thing. And so like, I'm thinking, okay, like Northern California is a lot more purple than the rest of the state, like where you get these big cities. Like Cloverdale's 5,000 people. There's not a lot in Sonoma County. There's, Santa Rosa's got 100,000 people. But aside from that, it's basically small towns. And they went 72-25. And like one of my buddies that lives here now is from there too. And I sent him that and he's just like, oh my God, what happened? Like, how did this happen? Because like growing up in a normal place with normal people, you do not expect that out of them down the line. You know what I mean? Like I would think that the majority of the people that I grew up with, that I had a lot of things in common with, would see things the way I do and vote, in a way that I would agree with at least, but not even close.
Yeah.
And like,
Well,
how do you expect the
saw a
state
map.
to improve when you have like zero desire to throw these idiots out?
I saw a map of California, just their voting. I didn't like look too far into it, but it was just basically the coastline that was blue.
Yeah, no, I saw the same map, so I wanted to see how Sonoma County did, and God damn, it's so disappointing, Like I still have family that lives there. We've been telling them for years, you got to get the fuck out, And like, if that's not an ominous sign that, you're a conservative or a libertarian or whatever, and you're surrounded by 72% liberals, you got to go.
Oh, Cloverdale was 72% liberal?
72% liberal.
Oh, I was like, I'm not surprised that it was red. Like,
No, blue, 72 for Kamala.
wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Is there a lot of farming there?
Yes. That's where we
Like-
grow all the grapes.
Like, who picks the grapes?
Mexicans, but not so much anymore. It's now machines.
Okay.
Like they
you
do
see-
machines for everything.
The most Hispanic county in the country is in Texas. It's 97% Hispanic. Trump got 75%.
That's so fucking badass. Like, yeah, fuck these people, dude. Like,
Well, and somebody was like, I can't believe the Hispanics turned on their people like that. And somebody responded like,
No,
no, they
no,
left
no,
those
no.
shitholes. And they don't want those people here.
exactly.
And I imagine it's not that easy to become a citizen here.
No, and it's like, hey, sorry, grandma, you're gonna have to go through the right way.
Yeah. And-
Like there's things. Okay, so like I'm a Greater Idaho advocate, right? I think we should be Greater Idaho. We should bring in these counties. One of the major sticking points for Greater Idaho would be marijuana. The Republicans want to push the marijuana shops 300 miles away from Boise instead of 40 miles away from Boise. In that situation, if you gave me the choice, I would choose Greater Idaho because I feel like that would be a better, like it would It would represent the people better. It would show a great precedent for the rest of the country. And yeah, you're having to give up a little bit of your rights, but so what? You're gaining so much more.
But you might get cannabis in the next cycle.
Exactly. Like you could get a libertarian in there that goes, hey, look, we need to be, if we're going to say my body, my choice on vaccines, we need to say that as well with marijuana. And yeah, it could happen quick. So you have to go for the most liberty as soon as possible. And that would be the case there.
Yeah.
And same thing with Texas. We need the most liberty as soon as possible. Sorry, Grandma, you're going to have to wait in line.
Do you guys you're aware of like the Farm Bill cannabis?
No.
Delta 8s, THCP, shit like that.
Yeah, I know what Delta 8 is, yeah.
Do you guys have that there?
No, we have nothing. They do CBD now, but like Idaho does not recognize any medical uses for marijuana. Even if you're dying of cancer, you can't fucking take Modernol or something like that.
Well, so what happened was in 2018, so hemp was vilified because of William Hearst.
Yep,
and
paper.
Hearst Publishing. He owned paper mill or
And
paper
forests, a lot of
and
forests.
forest. And then hemp was a better option. And he's like, fuck that. We're going to do reefer madness, all that stuff. So Trump signed the 2018 Farm Bill, which allowed for hemp to be grown up to, I think it's 5% THC.
Mm.
And when that happened, that opened up it created a pretty big loophole for all the other cannabinoids. So Delta 8, Delta 9, THCA, THCP started off with CBD, started selling. That was all kind of like snake oil shit. CBD does have a benefit, but they were selling it like it was going to get you high,
Yeah.
or it's going to cure cancer or whatever. And then they started just like optimizing for these other cannabinoids and then synthesizing them as well. And now, like if you go, Tennessee doesn't have legal cannabis, but there's a dispensary on every corner. We have a bus that runs around called the Cannabus that you can flag him down and do a dab in his bus.
Interesting.
And it's, Delta, the Delta is THCA, THCP. And so what's interesting is that I'm guessing that Idaho just passed a bill to supersede the federal farm bill, because Florida recently tried to do that. And it's really big there, the deltas and all that.
That's the one that Trump put his name behind, right?
Yeah, that farm bill. And DeSantis, so they passed a bill, through their state legislature to block those things. And DeSantis is like, no, this is stopping people from regular cannabis. So he vetoed the bill. So now it's just like kind of codified down there, which was super interesting. And then the state voted no on cannabis this year.
Yeah, I had a guy on just a couple of weeks ago. He's from an organization called Kind Idaho, and they've been like the only organization actually working on it here in the state. The LP is kind of working on it, but they're very small here. And their main goal is decriminalize. We got to start small and decriminalize, and like that would be such a big deal for here in this state, because we're already like one of the freest states in the country. Yeah. Except for that. You know what I mean? Like Montana is right there with us, but they're also allowing people to, grow and smoke weed. And like, I think that we've seen enough data at this point that like, it's not causing kids to reefer madness. You know what I mean? Like we're not seeing tons and tons of DUI accidents and people dying from, marijuana on the roads.
I agree with you. And I'm obviously pro cannabis. I'm pro
freedom.
I'm pro legal cocaine. But just to take the other side of that, let's check in on all the places that had legal cannabis first. How's San Francisco doing? How's Denver doing?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if we've been on since I went to Denver.
No.
They made it illegal starting the 1st of next year for anybody to grow their own food.
So wait, you're going to be allowed to grow weed, but not food?
Yes.
Okay, so that's who's sponsoring that bill, right?
It's like, I said, my wife's friend was there, and I'm like, that's just some communist bullshit. Or one of my partners, I'm like, that's just some communist bullshit. He's like, isn't communism where there's like communal food and everything? I said, well, look at how the Russians killed all those peoples by cutting off their food and burning
Yeah.
down their farm and shit. Like you have to control everything in communism. He's like, I don't know if that's how it actually works.
So we had a bill here in Idaho that, they're always trying to sneak something in on us up here, right? Because we're too conservative or whatever. So they had this bill that was called Prop 1. And I don't really understand exactly what was going on with it. But essentially it was let me just read off of this real quick and see if it gives us okay. It was the most high-profile contest besides the U.S. president on gem state ballots this election. Idahoans vote against it.
But you guys are the gem state?
Yeah, the gem state. I thought we were the potato
fucking
state.
potato state.
So Idahoans are headed for the polls on the 5th. Prop 1, it failed by a large margin. Prop 1 continued to two different election changes, open primaries, and ranked choice voting in general elections. So they were going to try and fucking, jigger our candidates. Like this was an outside, California written bill by people who don't like what we're doing up here and don't like that we're stealing their people. And they're trying to sneak shit on us. And it failed. And I'm glad it failed because who knows? There's just a Prop 1. You show up and it's like, oh, what the fuck is Prop 1? Luckily, we've got some smart people in this state. And I've been driving by, no on Prop 1, don't Californicate, Idaho. And we voted it down. I'm good. I'm glad. That was the first time I checked. I forgot about it.
And can you read the what was in there? Because that doesn't sound very.
Here, let me go to
California.
ChatGPT. It'll give us a good gestalt. What was Idaho Prop 1?
Because that sounds like something I would go out and advocate for when I just heard you kind of go over it quickly.
Maybe. Let's see. Okay. No, not 2018. 2024. No. 2024. Jerk. It's a significant electoral reform initiative. If passed, it would have introduced two major challenges to Idaho's election system: open primaries. It would have eliminated the current partisan primary system and replaced it with a top four system. In the new system, all candidates for a given office, regardless of party affiliation, would appear on the single ballot. The top four vote gatherers would then advocate to the general election, regardless of their party. Ranked choice voting in the general election, voters would rank the candidates in order of preference rather than voting for just one. If no candidate receives a majority of the first choice votes, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated and their votes are redistributed. That's I don't like that word. Based on voters' next preferences. This process continues until one candidate secures the majority. So you put a bad candidate in there and then three, or one candidate that you want and then three that we would like and basically eliminate it down to the one that they want.
No. This is where voting should go.
Yeah, I don't know.
So just can I?
No, I get what you're saying. I'm reading it the same way as you are. It sounds like, but I was explained something a bit different, and maybe I was explained wrong. So
because
I don't know.
This everybody's like, don't ever vote third party. You're just throwing your vote away.
Yeah.
So then, all right, if I know that I'm throwing my vote, so there's your lesser of two evils, and this time I think it was very clear which way, if I was going to vote, who I would vote for, right? But I also I always felt like I was throwing my vote away when I voted for a libertarian candidate. So if a bunch of people felt like they were throwing their vote away, they're like, he'll never win. And also Chase got less than Robert Kennedy.
Such a fucking piece of shit. I mean, I love to see that because God, they fucked up so bad and it hurts.
No, they didn't fuck up. They pushed the votes to Trump.
No, they did. I completely agree with you. I mean, the party fucked up so bad by doing what they did and allowing him to be the fucking candidate in the first place. Like, we rebranded this party, we took it over, and then we put this fucking fag in there that nobody likes. I couldn't even remember his last name.
And not because he's gay.
Yeah, because he's a faggot.
You'll take it.
I don't know.
That's-
Yeah, this
dude,
Prop One thing,
I'm
I could be
very,
wrong on this. I could. I don't really know
I'm
at this
super
point.
pro ranked choice. Like that just now as if I was Idaho Republican,
Yeah.
I mean, fuck that.
Yeah. And
That's gonna bring a whole different point of view here.
yeah, no,
That
you're right.
different point of view is probably the libertarian point of view.
Yeah. Or like we had what's his name ran for governor last time around, Ammon Bundy.
How do you do?
He did really well. He got like
Now imagine if you had ranked
he
choice.
lost, but he did really well. I think he
Imagine if you
outperformed.
had ranked choice.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think he got more votes than the Democrat, if I remember correctly. Let me
Oh yeah, he would have won. He probably would have won in ranked choice.
Yeah. Idaho. Let's see. 2020. It must have been 2020 or 2022. Let's see. Idaho. AMMO and Bundy election results. Ammon Bundy. Blah, 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 da, 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 da. Here we go. Let's see. I think it was like 60, 30, 10 or something like that. Just like a major blowout. Let's see.
Nevada passed it, like voted for ranked choice in 2022 and then rejected it in 2024. It had to pass twice for some reason.
Interesting. I can't find the exact numbers, but he did very well. And but it was one of those things where like Brad Little didn't put out a single lawn sign the entire election. You saw Ammon Bundy signs everywhere. And it's, people are terrified to vote for the third party because they don't want the Democrat to win. And like, that's something we're going to have to break ourselves of.
Well, if you have ranked choice voting, you could do that. You could vote for third party and then vote for your lesser of two evils.
Yeah. This is interesting because I kind of just probably followed the line of propaganda on this one and didn't look into it like I should have. Every once in a while, you fuck up. Right? At least I fucked up live on air and you were able to check me on it because I would have just kept going, right?
I ain't getting invited back.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, everybody. Wife, Daniel has quit the show. I don't know why.
My wife is very anti-participating in politics, and so am I. But after seeing what happened in Denver, we decided that we're going to get to know what's going on locally and vote for local.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I should be paying closer attention to what's going on. I do have a pretty high trust level for the area that I lived in, especially based on that, that concrete batch plant that we got ousted. Like, which was amazing. Like, you even said, you're like, dude, that plant's going in. And I was in total agreement with you. I was like, oh yeah, they're going to win, but they didn't. And, that's something to be happy about, to, at least give you some reprieve of like, okay, well, at least it's not going to go, as quickly as, because it, in a long enough time frame, everywhere is going to turn into California. It's just how it's going to be. And you have to keep it at, as long as possible. At some point in the next 100 years, Boise's going to be a city of 1.5 million people. It just will be. Like, that's how it's going to be. We've got a ton of space around here to build. And it's going to happen in other countries, in other states too. And this is going to be a battle that's going to be fought for a long fucking time. And, it's going to get ugly.
Dude, I think that the red wave is just starting.
I hope so.
They think that they can turn Pennsylvania into Florida as far as elections go.
That'd be sweet.
So you saw what happened with the Amish, right?
Yeah.
Did we
fucking
talk about
based?
that?
No, we didn't, but super based.
So Trump won. This is information I read a couple days ago, so it might have been updated. But Trump won Pennsylvania by 160,000 votes. There are 150,000 new Amish registered this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Damn. That's badass.
So if the FDA would have just let them sell their fucking milk, we'd be waiting to see what was happening in Arizona right now still.
Shit. I think he's going to win Arizona and Nevada.
Well, yeah, they're just going to let him.
Yeah.
Like they already lost, so why do free now?
Exactly.
Um,
Man, I heard another great point Dave Smith made on the PBD podcast on election night. He was like, look, black men may have been, the make or break in this election. So
I think it all came out like to pretty normal.
I think it did too. But great point. What his point was that, like, if it comes down to the black men, that's on Candace Owens and Kanye West. Without them two, you may not get that vote. I don't know that that's entirely correct. I think a lot of the lawfare kind of got black men in on, he's a fucking gangster. He's getting fucked with just like I am, But there
And
is something to be said about these black conservatives that have kind of made it okay for black people to, break away from the blue.
And so this is like, talk about just like the gaslighting, and we don't hate the press enough. Joe Biden wrote the bill that was 3 strikes. The thing that imprisoned the most black people ever. And then Kamala Harris was the top rated prosecutor for prosecuting 3 strikes, along with keeping people in over their sentence, sending parents to jail for truancy. And then somehow we all just got gaslit. Oh,
and keeping people in jail to fight fires for the state.
Yeah. Well, she has that slave owner in her blood, so
yeah, right. What do you think she does next? Is she just gonna go away?
she has to.
I mean, I don't which fucking weapons manufacturer is gonna put her on. I don't see her like getting into Raytheon or anything like that. She's not good at anything. Like, maybe she'll get a job at some fucking think tank, like liberal think tank about fucking, changing laws or criminals or I could see her doing something like that. But like, I think she's just going to have to go away. She's done.
I think Democrats might have their own little mega revolution, like in their own way.
Yeah, they could.
Because like that party is not the party of anti-war, anti-censorship, all those things.
They're corporate bailouts and fucking warmongers.
Yeah.
So
I would actually hope for that.
They have to do something. Otherwise, they're looking at 4 years of Trump and 8 years of Vance. And they're going to have to make big fucking changes because dude,
at what point does Barron become old enough?
I don't know about, I don't think that they have the motivation. I don't think they have it. Like Don Jr.'s got it, but I don't think he wants to do it. He's got a great life. Why would you want to destroy your life to do something like that? When you've got somebody like Vance or Vivek that are, ramped up and ready to go.
Nobody's voting for Vivek, bro.
You don't think so? I think he could. Honestly, I could see 8 years of Vance and Vivek, and then Vivek running after that, and then possibly losing because we're not going to have 16 years of Republicans or anything like that. But no, I think that he could get votes. I think he did very well in the primary for somebody who's like a complete unknown a few months before. With the amount of time that they had, he did much like 1,000 times more with the time that he had than Kamala did with the time that they had. His profile shot up like crazy during that primary, where her profile is just nothing.
Yeah, I could see him being like a good Speaker of the House or something like that, but I just don't see him being president.
He could make a good press secretary.
Oh, that's Alex Jones.
That would be so sick. Even just for like a day. Trump's going to come in and be dictator on day one and have Alex Jones explain it to everybody.
I told you that the fluoride was making the kids dumb and the waters make the frogs gay.
You're fake news. We don't want you in here. Who do you work for? We're going to have you blocked from this building.
I did see that Elon was on the Zelensky call today.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
He's got to be shitting bricks, and not just from all the cocaine that he does.
Oh, he knows it's done. I saw a headline that Hamas is like, we're ready for ceasefire. Don't know how true that is. I saw that Putin congratulated Trump and said he's ready to talk.
I saw that too.
And then I heard that Trump and Elon were like, there's no more money. You got to make a deal.
dude. He is
Oh,
so
and
fucked.
Europe is going to buy gas from us now.
Yeah, they're gonna have to if they don't want to do business with Russia. Who else are they gonna buy it from?
No, and Putin's going back to the dollar.
Oh, is he? You think?
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
these are the headlines. I've been so goddamn busy. I didn't get the chance to like, follow them through.
Yeah, I had a rough couple days. Like I'm a piece of shit, and so I've been sleeping up a little bit too much the last couple days. I had a 8 o'clock doctor's appointment the other day that really kicked my ass. I haven't used the prosthetic in a long time, so I had to like be at my prosthetist at 8 o'clock in the morning the other day and like using the prosthetic for like 2 hours. So by the time I got back, dude, my arm was cramped up so fucking bad. I was sore for like 2 days.
Yeah. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law came into town, and my brother-in-law brought his girlfriend, and they're great. It's not like, oh, fuck, my in-laws are in town. They're like great, but we're so busy with the business. My wife and I kind of do equal, like we do different things, but we do equal. There's common things that we do, like packing orders. Like every order that we get ships within a couple hours. Like legitimately is in UPS's vans in a couple hours. And so I did all of that, and my wife, spent time with her family, and I just fucking I was exhausted. That's why I couldn't do yesterday, bro.
It's all good. I was exhausted yesterday too. I was beat up from the day before. I gotta. On that note, like you can get high, have fun, and wake up feeling refreshed when you go to get happy today. I need to find some music that I can have, like like loud Indian music doesn't work. Maybe it does. Loud Indian music. Hey, if you want to go get fucked up, go to get happy today.
Give this to your lady. She will remove cloth.
Yes. Oh shit.
Have you ever seen the somebody turned it into a music video, but it's comments from Indian guys?
No.
Next time I see it, I'll send it to you. But it's like, hello, bitch lasagna. Remove the cloth. I want to stick my ass in your ass. And today I saw a mashup, but it was all Mega Girls that they were showing as the pictures for it. I'm like, that's a fucking victory lap right there. Because I wouldn't want to see the Harris girls in that video.
No. There's some guys on the internet. One of them, I was watching this video a couple weeks ago now. It was this guy, I think he's called the Tech It Realm. And he's just a tech guy. Like, I think he worked for Wired for a long time. So he just knows a lot about tech. And somehow he got into scamming scammers. So like when scammers call you up, they get on your computer and log in, and then they use this software to like piggyback into your system and steal all your shit. So while they're doing that, he's like keeping them busy and meanwhile doing the same thing to them. And then he goes in and like steals all their Bitcoin and shit. Like this guy,
nice.
Yeah. So this guy's buddy had a Tesla that like caught on fire during a hurricane or something like that. Cause these things are just safe and effective. They don't catch on fire for no reason ever. Right. And so he got scammed on the warranty. Somehow like somebody got into him with the warranty and totally scammed him. And he lost the car, lost all the money for the car. So the guy found the exact scammer, got him, stole like 2 Bitcoin from him, and then went and bought his buddy a Cybertruck. It's like, fuck yeah, dude. Cause like, who's going to do, there's nothing they can do. A, it's Bitcoin. So good luck. I lost it in a boating accident as soon as I got it. And, B, these guys aren't going to do anything because they can't. They're fucking scamming people. My grandmother got scammed for thousands and thousands of dollars. She was doing the Walmart gift cards thing. Some guy was giving her the business, and she'd go pick up the gift cards. And my mom found out about it after like $5,000 or $7,000. And like, we, did whatever we could. We took it to court and tried to, essentially the judge found that because she was driving back and forth multiple times, that she was with it enough to know what she was doing with the money. And then and get this, 2 years later, this is just recently, my grandmother's caretaker lost her fucking mind and tried to commit suicide. So she got like taken out of the house by cops. She was bringing like the night before, she brought this weird guy back to the house to like, I don't know, pay him for giving her a ride or something like that. It was like 11:30 at night. Luckily, my aunt was there and was like, that guy's not coming inside. So she gets taken to a mental institution on a 5150. And we're like trying to figure out how to get her out. My mom's freaking out. She's like called me on the phone. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to get her out. And like, this is blah, blah, blah. And I go, oh, easy. File a protective order on her, you know, because I watch a lot of, you know, body cam videos and shit like that. So I know, you know, more about the law than my mother, who was a paralegal for 20 years. And I was expecting her to explain to me why that wouldn't work. And instantly she was like, oh my God, that's exactly what we do. Like the person I was talking to didn't mention that at all. She's like, oh, easy. I can have that taken care of in 20 minutes. So she fills out the protective order. It goes to a judge, and the judge says no because there was no violence involved. She wasn't violent. And since there was no violence, that you've got nothing to worry about. It was the same fucking judge that made her pay off that scammer.
Wow. That's fucking insane.
It's disgusting,
And
right?
it's like a lifetime position, or do they have to win every 4 years?
I think you have to win every 4 years or so. Like, I don't know how many years it is for a judge, but I could not believe my mom called me up and she's like, we didn't get the protective order. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't get the protective order? And the judge told her that protective orders in Idaho are designed for violence, for domestic violence, not for this purpose. And so I go immediately and ask the best lawyer I know if this person is correct, ChatGPT. And and ChatGPT gave me a big breakdown of why this judge was a piece of shit. And it's like, what? But there's nothing you can do about it because it's the state. And even if you complain about the judge, they'll investigate themselves and find that they did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Fuck the police.
Yeah, I concur.
Were your in-laws on the same page as the election, or did you guys have to like dance around it?
Oh, I mean, I didn't vote, so that makes it really easy to have those conversations.
I didn't either. I decided I would endorse him, but I wasn't going to waste my time and vote for him in Idaho.
Well, when I decided not to vote, because I live in a very liberal neighborhood, but when you have a conversation that's not biased, like, oh, you're a Trump supporter, I'm gonna have a closed mind. You're able to talk about points and issues that are important, and people are generally thinking in the same direction, but they have a lot of bad information.
Oh yeah.
So coming from oh, you voted for that retard? I've said that many times now to both sides. Oh, you voted for that retard?
Yeah.
I always say I'm a single issue voter, and people are like, well, what's that? I say, well, I think that we should publicly execute everybody who voted for and to enlarge the Patriot Act, and then hang their bones in the halls of Congress so nobody gets any bad ideas. And nobody had that on their platform, so I refused to vote.
Yeah, I'm with you
They're
on
like,
that
"Oh,
one,
fuck."
right? Yeah, so here's one of the main reasons that I don't vote. And like people always look at me like I'm fucking crazy when I tell them this. I want to see your reaction to it. Straight up, I don't want to be on these monsters list. Like they keep track of who votes for who. And these people are fucking monsters. And the last thing I want is for them to know who I'm voting for. And, you know, they could do their job and go and watch my podcast and figure it out, but they're lazy and they're stupid and they won't do that. They'll just look at the lists. And like, if we're ever in a position where we've got a communist takeover of this country, those voter registration lists and those voter, you know, that's going to come up.
You mean like when AOC said that everybody that voted for Trump is complicit?
Yeah.
And we're keeping track and we're going to find you?
Exactly. I didn't know she said that, but that's
yeah.
exactly why I don't fucking vote. Because she's a psycho. And I do not want her to know anything about me. They already know too much about me. You know what I mean? Like, we live in a police state. They fucking track everything we do. I know they're listening to my podcast. I know they're listening to my iPad. And like, nothing special about me. They're doing it to everybody, you know? At one point, the podcast was averaging about like 50 downloads a week, and then instantly went up to like 250. And all of the downloads were coming more than 2 weeks after the episode was aired. And so then I go to a breakdown of what country are downloading what, and all of those downloads, thousands of them, went to an unknown country. And to me, that's the fucking government. That's the CIA. That's the NSA. Wherever they're storing my podcast, they're taking multiple versions of it and storing it in multiple places.
Oh, that joke that I texted you, and you said we can't forget it.
Oh, yeah.
I did that little handy dandy painter tape. And the only reason I can rationalize Kamala Harris picking Tim Walz as her vice president is she wanted to pick somebody that heard she'd suck anybody's dick, but would never ask her to suck his dick. Because that dude's gay as fuck.
He's so fucking gay. In fact,
The only
he is a
rationalization,
faggot.
the only thing that I could think of.
Ugh.
Did you see that it didn't come out? Like one of the October surprises was Walls had an affair with a Chinese CCP's daughter,
Yeah, I did hear about that one.
and
Like,
somebody's like, Tim Walls staged his own October surprise just to make people think that he had sex with a woman.
let me show you how straight I am, buddy. Holy shit. That's fucking great. He's done for. Did you know, like, his home county went to Trump?
I heard, and I again just haven't done a lot of research, but like on election day, they were interviewing Somalis in Minnesota. They're like, "Yeah, we came here. They promised us all this shit, and we didn't get it, so we're voting for Trump."
Yeah, fuck that. I have a funny Minnesota story. So, God, I'd have to look up the actual highway. So I fly in. I have my prosthetic work done in Rochester, Minnesota, which is a little bit south of Minneapolis. So I fly into Minneapolis and then I drive, like, take an Uber down to Rochester. So I had this Somali guy, and he just could not fucking speak English. It was rough, right? And so we're driving, and he's like having me put on music. Oh, yeah, listen to your music and whatever. And so at one point we're driving and we're going slow as fuck. I look down his speedometer and he's got the fucking cruise control on at 52 miles an hour. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing 52 miles an hour for? And I just like gave up on trying to communicate with him. And so I'm
Yeah.
looking out the window and I noticed that we're on Highway 52.
Dude,
Motherfucker couldn't tell the difference between the signs.
I went to a music festival like 2 Octobers ago in Harmony Park, which is like an hour and a half south of Minneapolis. It was the place was it's special. It's a really cool place to see a music festival. I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of like it here, except for probably the snow sucks. And then last summer, I did that road trip in the RV across the country, and I looked up gun laws in like every state that I was passing through. And that was the only like big one where I had a big red thing on my list, like pull over before you get there and put locks in your guns.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like Michigan's whatever. I think because your vehicle's your property, you're allowed to have it. That was the only one where it's like, oh no, you're going to prison if you don't have locks in your guns.
Yeah. No, so I live in Western Idaho or Eastern Idaho, excuse me. And like my family will drive west to go to California to visit family or Nevada to visit family. And you have to drive through this really desolate area in Oregon that's just fucking, there's nothing. You don't get cell service. Like you're fucked if you break down out there essentially. And like my mom drives through there. And at one point she was like, I feel like I should have a gun on me, but it's illegal for me to have a gun in Idaho or in Oregon. And like we kind of just and like her husband's an ex-sheriff, so we kind of were all talking about it and was like, you know what? You bring the gun and you deal with the consequences later, because like you don't want to have a 55-year-old woman, broke down in the middle of the desert in the middle of the night in Oregon. Even at that point, even the tow truck driver is suspect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like you bring the gun and you use it if you have to, and you deal with the consequences later.
So I had my Nevada CCW. So, and I didn't change my address for a bit till when I moved out here. So when I would go back, I'd fly with a gun or following the rules, fly with a gun, check it, and then just carry when I got there. And I went down to Lake Havasu, where my business partner has a place with like the most Republican place in the world is Lake Havasu, Arizona. And we went through Nevada, Arizona, getting there. And then driving back, there's a quicker way that touches in California. I didn't realize it. Bro, I was 10 and 2. I was going 2 miles over the speed limit.
Yeah.
You're going through like back country, and I'm like, nope, just gonna follow the law here.
Yeah.
But it would take so much for them to find a gun, too.
Yeah.
But
So
I, yeah,
when I was younger, I knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who transported a lot of marijuana, like 30 pounds a month. And this person who I know that they know that whatever, that person always told me that one of the scariest things you could ever do was drive by San Quentin with 30 pounds of marijuana and a dirt bike in the back of your pickup. Talk
yes.
about getting the hair on your arms standing up, huh?
Oh yeah.
Woo! That was not me, I promise.
Oh man. So I had this view on Elon. I guess it was before I really paid attention,
Okay, this is great because I want continue. This is good.
because he was a self-proclaimed socialist.
Yes.
And then I kind of looked back on the events of the last couple years, him buying Twitter to save free speech. And then like the day before the election, I saw a clip of like Joy Reid or somebody calling for all his businesses to be nationalized and him to be deported. And I think that there's a real chance of that had Trump lost. And that dude literally went all in as the richest man in the world to do what he believed to be right. And it didn't make much sense. Well, I guess my risk tolerance isn't as high as his, but also, um, I saw a tweet. I've seen it many times. It's just a screenshot, and it's like Elon's daughter, um, who was his, it's Xavier's
Yeah.
boy, said this, and this about her father, and somebody's like, "No, that's his son," and then Elon responds, "No, that's dead naming. My
Yeah.
son is dead, and the woke mind virus killed my son."
Yeah.
And it's like, what an origin story to save. If this all, it looks like it's happening. It looks like they're going to drain the swamp.
Yeah.
Looks like the wars are ending. I don't want to get too optimistic. I feel the same way that I felt. I remember when we rolled into Baghdad in the second Bush's term. I was driving home from work. They were playing Outcast bombs over Baghdad. I'm like, fuck yeah, we're doing it, boys. And I kind of feel that way now, and like I was clearly so wrong about that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This one kind of feels a little different.
Okay,
Kind of
so
feels like there's a shot.
I'm on the same page as you. When Elon so like the first time I went on Sam Tripoli's show, we talked a lot about Elon. And my point at that time was that Neuralink is a dangerous, very dangerous piece of technology, a very, very dangerous piece of technology. He's a borderline socialist. At one point, he was all in on universal basic income. He seems to have backpedaled on that quite a bit. And I think a big part of it is like what you said. His son is dead and
Yeah.
he lost his son.
Yeah.
I always said that you have to be careful with anything that he says because he's controlled opposition. All of his money comes from government contracts and big business like that. So they could end him in the swipe of a pen. But at this point, like, I didn't think that he would have the balls to do what he did because of the repercussions. And like you said, he fucking went all in. And at this point, like, I'm with you. I think that he is on team good. And I think that he's fucking stuck his neck out way farther than anybody expected him to, or like that he should have been expected to.
And so I've come to learn that um, Starlink funds most of SpaceX through consumer contracts. Like, so it's not, oh, SpaceX just gets some $10 billion from the government and they build shit. They're funding it through better, faster, cheaper internet, which I was kind of surprised. And I assumed that the government contracts were like the no bid, you just show up and you get it. No, they won those contracts because they had a better product. It wasn't like it was just handed to them.
Yeah.
Then they had the EV summit, and they didn't even invite fucking Elon to it. So they brought all the manufacturers there, and they're like, "Oh, this is the EV summit at the White House," and they didn't even bring the dude who sold the most EVs in the world.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that the dude labeled himself as a socialist because he thought that's what was the greater good was, and then he started to understand what socialism actually does.
Yes.
And And now, 'cause it's like,
I
we
went
have
back
this
and listened to his interviews about universal basic income, and then I found also another one that was later where he kind of explains why it's no good. And there's not much there's not much continuity between those positions. Like he doesn't really say why he used to believe that and why he doesn't now.
Mhm.
To me, I guess it's good enough that he doesn't believe it now, right? Like I don't really need an explanation. You're a smart guy. You went through some sort of process to figure this out. And the one thing that like did worry me about him is like the Overton window is always moving left, right? So you want to make the right wing the enemy and have this Overton window consistently shifting it over further right. But what they're doing is now they're lumping people in like Dave Rubin, who is just the worst. Elon, you've got, Matt Taibbi, all these people who are not Republicans or are not conservatives. They are actual liberals, are now right wing. So that Overton window is just getting, yes. So that window is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, even though it's pushed farther right. According to them, it's not. It's moving left.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing based on Trump. Like Trump is not a Republican, really. He's not a conservative, really. He's still a 90s liberal.
He wasn't a Republican.
No.
He was a lifelong Democrat.
Yeah, and he still kind of is.
Super pro-abortion and shit.
Yeah.
I saw this tweet. It's like, all right, well, now we have Joe Rogan obviously had an impact on the election. Now we have to make a liberal Joe Rogan.
Yeah, which
bitch, you had one. You had one up until COVID.
Which one?
Like Joe Rogan voted liberal up until.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. He had Bernie Sanders on. Like he was eating out of Bernie's hand.
Yeah.
And dude, can I just say, Joe is a fucking badass. Like what he's done in the past couple days is fucking badass. He had some of the baddest people on right before. And like, I know how long editing takes. Like, I don't know exactly how they do their show. I would imagine Jamie's pressing buttons to flip the cameras so they don't have to go in and pull but still, this stuff doesn't edit itself. Like it takes some time. And for them to say, hey, look, we're going to record it now and have it out in a couple hours. Like people are working hard for that because you've got to get your ads in there. Like it's going to take some time and you're going to be paid
so much money. He has so much money though.
Yeah, but still, like he didn't have to have Vance on. He didn't have to have Tim Dillon or Dave Smith on. Like he could have just taken a break for this week and just said, let's let it play out the way it is. But he had two of the baddest people on. And now we had Theo on today. I haven't watched Theo Vaughn's episode yet, but like I've not watched this much Joe Rogan in fucking years.
I tried, like, the unfortunate thing about the Dylan episode was it was on election day.
Yes.
And
I watched it the day after. Yeah.
So I watched half of it and I liked it. I tried to finish Dave Smith today just so that I could have a little more information before I came on here, but I just didn't have time for it. And then fucking Theo's gonna be funny.
Yeah.
Dude, Theo with JD Vance.
It was
You can't even do cocaine in America anymore.
It was so good. Like I even remember when they announced Vance, we were doing 3 Guys 4 Arms. And I complained immediately. I was like, I don't trust this guy. He's establishment. I think he's boring. He's one of these boring guys. Like, who's that guy that keeps running in Washington? Joe Kent, something like that. He's just some fucking ex-Marine. Oh, I'm going to come into, and he's boring and fucking, I'm not into it. And then I started watching him a little. I'm like, this guy's not boring. Like he's got a sense of humor. He laughs like a real person. When I moved into my house, my neighbor, like I met my neighbor for the first time, and I might have told you this story, but he was a road worker, so he worked for like the state. So he's leaning on a shovel for 40 years. He's got that baked in tan, and like bright white dentures. Like I've got dentures, but mine aren't glowing like Joe Biden's and like this guy. And like me and my ex-wife are talking to the guy and he's just like his face is just plastered in this smile. And we get inside and my ex-wife's like, oh, I liked him. He's nice. I was like, that guy's a sociopath. She's She's like, what do you mean? I was like, look at his laugh and his smile. Like, that's not real. You don't do that. It's not a real person. And we found out real quick that that dude was a fucking sociopath. One day my dog was barking and this was my fault. Like, my ex-wife was a drunk and she would get up early and drink and let the dog bark and shit like that. And the neighbor's wife had cancer. So the dog's, barking and bothering her. And he comes over and just starts screaming and yelling at me like foam coming out of his mouth. And I just go, hold on a second. Because I'd just woken up. I was like in my bathrobe. Like, give me just a second. Let me go grab some clothes. So I shut the door. I walk over to my mantle and grab my shotgun. And I walk back to the door and I go, all right, now we can have this conversation. And he flipped the fuck out. I'm going to call the fucking police on you. And just losing his mind. I'm like, all right, dude, just get out of here. Go home. Like, get over it. And the cops ended up coming and they were like, what the fuck happened? Why are you pull a gun on him? I'm like, I didn't pull a gun on him. I had it standing straight up next to me. And he came over to me and was yelling and screaming and foaming at the mouth. And I'm an amputee and I'm not going to get in a fight with that guy. They were like, all right, well, maybe don't mow your lawns at the same time. And that was it.
So your ex-wife would get drunk in the morning.
Oh yeah, dude. She was a wine drinker, like just disgusting drunk.
Day drunk is my favorite. It really is.
It can be like a football game or a concert or something. I've had some great time day drinking too, but like this was not day drinking. This was just maintenance drinking. Like it was. Escaping. I still find wine bottles around my house hidden.
Whoa.
She's been gone for 5 years.
Wow.
At least. No, she's been gone for 7 years. And I found an empty wine bottle out in my front yard hidden in a bush.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was dating this Romanian woman, and this is when I was running that company that did really well. So I was working a lot, didn't have a lot of free time. And like Saturdays and Sundays were like my day. Actually, Sundays I'd end up working a lot, but Saturday was my day. And she's like, oh, well, when I came here on exchange, I stayed with this family and they're staying with us this weekend. I'm like, all right, well, we have brunch plans on Saturday. And she's like, can't do it. So I wake up on Saturday, I'm just fucking annoyed. And I walk downstairs and this like 65-year-old Romanian guy, he just pulls me and he goes, it's time to do a shot. I said, what? He said, in Romania, you do it when your stomach's empty and you get warm for the whole day.
Hell yeah.
And I ended up having a good time with the dude.
Hell yeah.
Even when I broke up with her, he lived in Atlanta and he saw he was my buddy on Facebook. He saw that I was in Atlanta and he's like, why didn't you come and see me? And I'm like, well, you're my ex-girlfriend's dude that letter. Yeah. He's like, no, we're friends.
Yeah.
Next time you better fucking see me. So
That's badass.
the next time I came to Atlanta or went to Atlanta, I went and saw him. And man, he's probably the racist person I've ever encountered.
Oh, so he's a blast.
Oh my God. He's like, there's like just a black guy driving through like an open air mall. He's like, look, they're trying to run down our property value.
I do it every time. I always, even when I'm driving by myself and I see a black kid walking, I go, there goes the neighborhood.
No, his conspiracy was that they're sending people from like urban Atlanta into the outskirts just to drive around to drive down their property value. So his house is worth less.
God, that's hilarious. I got one more story for you and then we'll get out of here.
Oh, but the dude killed himself.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, you go out. Hey, I'm going to kill myself someday. I'm not going to suffer in pain. I will take pills and end it. Like I'm not going to be one of these. I don't have any kids. I'm not going to have anybody. Like if it's time, it's time. You know what I mean? Anyways, so like my amputation story, I don't know if I've told you this, but like, so I went to the Mayo Clinic to have my arm amputated. It was like 1.5 years after I got hurt. Like we tried to save the hand, but it ended up just having to go. So I'm at the Mayo Clinic. I get the amputation and like, I'm supposed to be in the hospital for 2 weeks. On day 5, I get a call from the dog sitter because we brought our dog with us. We were going to be there for 2 weeks, you know? And he's like, your wife didn't show up to pick up your dog today. He's like, I don't have the facilities to like keep him overnight. Like we're full. You got to figure out how to come and get him. And I like her phone's off. She cannot be found. She's drunk somewhere. So I had to check myself out of the hospital more than a week early, drive the rental car. I had to go find the rental car. Then I went and drove it, picked him up, went back to the hotel room. And this time I'm still like on pain meds. So I'm doing okay. And then she doesn't come home for like 2 days. And I'm just sitting there fucked up. The room is destroyed. Bottles everywhere, like cans everywhere, just fucking destroyed. And she finally comes back and we get in this massive fucking fight. She ends up leaving to go to the airport, gets to the airport, realizes she doesn't have any money. So she calls her dad to get him, and he's not giving her any money. She comes back. So she spent like $400 on Ubers and fucking booze for nothing. And she's so fucking drunk. Like, we finally get through it. The day after my amputation, like the day after that happened, I had to get up in the morning to take the dog for a walk. I was in so much pain that I couldn't put a shirt on. So I'm walking around in flip-flops and shorts in Medical City, USA, like down the main street. Not one person stopped to ask if I was okay. Not one. So we finally get through it. She's just a nightmare the entire time. At one point, she was like calling her friends and talking shit about me, like
in front of you
while I'm in the room. Just the worst experience you could ever imagine. We finally get out of there. It's the day to leave. She's so drunk that she can't even pack her own suitcase. I had to pack her fucking suitcase and get her to the freaking airport. As we're driving to the airport, she starts doing the let me out. And we're doing 70 miles an hour down Highway 52, not 52 miles an hour. And she starts like opening the door. And this is the only time I've ever had a thought like this. But I'm thinking to myself, if she jumps out right now, there's not a cop in this country that would blame me for it.
You're a better man than I am.
I ended up having to push her through the airport in a wheelchair.
With one arm. Wow.
Yeah. So we're divorced. So we're divorced.
Yeah, that all checks out.
Yeah, that all checks out. It's one of the worst things you could ever do to somebody, I think. Like I can't imagine, like, aside from like killing somebody or like physically like harming somebody.
That might be helping some people.
Maybe. I don't know. It was fucked. It was a bad week, I can tell you that. Ugh. All right.
So I on Wednesday hop on a team call, and one of my partners is just like East Coast liberal. He was very for RFK until RFK jumped in the Trump camp, and then he's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I can't vote for either of these kids. So we hop on the call. I said, how you doing? And he goes,
looking a little green.
Looking
a little green. Like he's been up all night.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, it was a rough day for me too. And my other partner does not say his political affiliation, but he has a house in Havasu. So, so I go, yeah, it was a rough day for me too. I said I had to give my housekeeper a big hug. I told her if she ever makes it over Eagle Pass again to give me a call, then I'll probably let her clean my house. And the liberal partner is just like, God damn it, that's too fucking funny.
I can't imagine what it's like having to do that. Like, oh my God. I lived in San Francisco for 5 years. I could not be around those people today because I don't have that ability that you have. I wear it on my sleeve, not my sleeves, obviously, my sleeve. And I couldn't, like, back when I lived there, everybody knew I was different. Like, nobody gave a shit about politics because politics was fucking gay back then. So, like, nobody fucking cared. And they all knew I was different. Like, I had like, guns and I was fucking from Northern California. But I was an oddity. So, like, people enjoyed hanging out with me. Like, I would go to these, my ex-wife's sister was, like, worked for Goldman Sachs, like, very high up in corporate America. And so we would go to these dinners with, like, very rich people and me, But, and also, though, it was so fucked up because these rich people, they just don't understand normal people's lives, even though they were normal at one point. And like, I'll never forget this because it was just like the realization is like, oh yeah, we're not living in the same world. So like, she starts this new company. My ex-wife's sister starts this new company, and my ex-wife is like, yeah, so she's having this big open house party on Friday that we're gonna go to. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, she wants to know if you'll bartend.
What?
I went, no, absolutely not. Are you crazy? Like, what? She's like, yeah, she wants to know if you'll bartend. I'm like, how much was she planning on paying me? Well, I didn't think you'd need to be paid. I figured you just want, I bartend 80 hours a week. Like, why the fuck would I go to your house and bartend? And it's like, yeah, man, it's that same principle of like, if you make it over Evil Pass again, you can fucking clean my house. You know, yeah, we like having you around, but if you could help, that'd be great.
Oh man.
All right, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Too much.